Yeah, ギャル男宣言。
俺ギャルを始めました BK 卒業パンツピタピタっていうか昨日も渋谷好きな食べ物はシーザーサラダガングロメッシュにからコンレンズパラパラダンスの猛練習パラダイスに陶酔表現中ギャル男ステイチューン金じゃら銀じゃら銀ギラピンマルキューセールは仁義なし全身バリバリやっぱり B3CSFO キノコを食べましたトランス聞きました調子上がってきたみんなが大好きだ
Boy, it sure took me a while to get Higurashi, eh? Trent Sims, this one's for you.
Higurashi no Naku Koro ni, directly translated as When the Cicadas Cry, but horrendously localized as When They Cry, is a Japanese murder mystery PC game initially made solo by amateur author and artist Ryukishi07 and later by his indie game development company, 07th Expansion. The game, colloquially known as just Higurashi, was notable for its combination of lighthearted slice-of-life comedy and grisly murder mystery, its art style, which is unique to Ryukishi07, and its releasing of each story arc separately in an era where downloadable content and episodic gaming was not nearly as prolific as it is today.
So what does that have to do with me? Well, about a year after the final episode of the game was released, Studio Dean went ahead and made an anime. We've run across something like this before, haven't we?
That's right, Elfen Lied. That's not to say they're similar, in fact they're almost completely different in every meaningful way, but they share one very significant aesthetic choice, the blending of fun, goofy, lighthearted humor with copious amounts of violence and gore. In case you didn't watch my absolute destruction of the incoherent mess that is Elfen Lied, let me recap the relevant part here. I gave that show a pretty hard time for injecting unnecessary amounts of blood and guts for nothing other than pure shock value.
But does that hold true for Higurashi as well? Is it just another run-of-the-mill comedy with cheap thriller sprinkled on top? Let's take a look.
Mimicking the episodic releases of the games, the Higurashi anime is split into separate story arcs, which are about 6 episodes long. Sometimes they're longer, sometimes they're shorter, but it averages out to about 6 episodes apiece. Each arc is a retelling of the same period of time, but from a different point of view, sort of. After about 2/3 into the second arc, it becomes obvious that even though each arc involves the same characters in the same location, during the same period of time, and even encountering some of the same basic events, the plot of each arc is wholly different, only rarely connecting with other arcs in the series. Because this is overall a good show and I recommend you watch it, I'm going to try to avoid spoilers, but sometimes I'll just have to talk about something that happens in the show, so if you don't want to be spoiled, Sephiroth kills Eris. The first arc is largely used to set up the status quo of the series. It's here that we're introduced to our large and varied cast. First is Keiichi Maebara, our lead, who appears to be just like every other good-hearted dimeball male teenager anime protagonist, but unlike the stereotype from which he is derived from, it's later discovered that he has a strikingly violent and cruel side to him buried within his past. Next is Rina Ryugu, a redheaded girl 1 year Keiichi's junior, who is considered by fans to be the poster child of the series, and while she's overly obsessed with all manner of cute things, she's also a very strong believer in the local brand of Shintoism that borders on cultistic obsession. Mio Sonozaki is a laid-back tomboy club leader of the group, but also has a very serious side that only seems to surface whenever she's performing her duties as the heir of the local Yakuza family. Sadako Hojo is a mischievous trickster, always playing pranks and planting booby traps around the school, but also has an obsession with being wholly self-sufficient. And finally, there's Rika Furude, who the villagers look up to as a Miko, but is still quite childish despite the pressure. These 5 kids make up the main cast of the series, and they're all very well developed. Secondary characters include Oishi, a grizzled veteran cop, Yurie, the local doctor, Shion, Mion's feminine twin sister, Takano, a local nurse, and Tomatake, a photographer from Tokyo.
Whew. That is a lot of backstory instead of to go through, but it makes sense. This series is massive. 52 regular episodes, 6 OVAs with 4 more on the way, mountains of manga, and a plethora of video games for pretty much every console known to mankind.
The action takes place in the fictional backwater village of Hinamizawa, with a population of 2,000 very old-fashioned religious fanatics. It's actually based off a real place in Japan called Shirakawa, and pretty much every location within the town is pulled directly from real life. This is a city I absolutely will not be wanting to visit. The flow of almost every arc follows the same pattern, and the first one is no exception. It starts off all cutesy with all the kids having fun in their peaceful little hamlet. It's a goofy slice of life comedy where we're watching an older teenager get pissed off at little kids for beating him in a children's card game like a TG Reject, and oh god, everybody's dying and everybody's going fucking crazy, and there's ghosts and curses everywhere. Oh my god, why is there so much blood? Why? Like I mentioned before, When They Cry's main gimmick is the juxtaposition of anime cuteness with grisly murder and death, but unlike Elfen Lied, it actually does it rather well. The plotline is gripping, making the audience want to see more, and the characters are well developed, so we care about when they die. Even as we see them die many, many times over the course of the series. The first arc revolves around Keiichi's classmates, Rina and Mion, acting strangely. Oishi decides to investigate the matter with Keiichi and begins to suspect that Keiichi is their next victim.
Somehow, all the victims of these murders shared a connection to your little group of friends, kid.
Why are you telling me this?
Yes, why are you telling him this? Jesus, have these cops not heard discretion of classified or sensitive materials? Or, you could at least not had a conversation like that in a maid cafe?
Seriously, Oishi has to be the worst cop imaginable. He literally lets this kid walk into the maw of death because he doesn't want to hit the pavement himself.
There, Maebara, I need someone from Hinamizawa who doesn't believe in curses to help me out on this one.
Jeez, I wish I knew a hardboiled detective with experience to do these kind of things. Wait.
The main plot of the looping arcs overall, yes, the arcs loop, and I'll get into that a bit more later, is that it's coming upon the annual Cotton Drifting Festival in Hinamizawa, and the cast is all excited to see Rika perform a ritual as Shrine Maid and do all the fun festival stuff like dress up in uncomfortable outfits and buy low-quality, overpriced food from festival stalls. Yeah! But the real plot is hidden behind this facade where one person is always killed and another spirited away on the night of the festival every year. The town people believe it's a curse, and every year without fail it happens. Each arc replays the same period of time, the days leading up to the festival of 1983, and they showcase these same core events from a different perspective each time, as well as differences unique to each arc. Overall, it's a really unique way of telling a story, watching a timeline repeat with similar and yet different events happening, with the same characters we know and love constantly thrown back into the breach at the beginning of a new arc. My only real complaint is watching Rika hoe a bunch of folded up cotton. Okay, have you guys seen raw cotton, like before it's spun up and put into a blanket or whatever? Do you think it can be hoed in a manner such as this? It doesn't fucking work, man. It just doesn't work. At that moment, my landlady's dog decided to make love to my face. I fell backward and smashed my head. I don't know why she'd gotten so mad. Maybe it was because I went out into her territorial pissing grounds. Probably should have picked another location to do the shot.
Hey, yeah, I'd like to make an order, please. Yeah, make it, small superior and some breadsticks. Boy, it sure took me a while to get to Higurashi, eh? Trent Sims, this one's for you.
The first thing you notice is that even though Keiichi just died last episode, he's now alive and well! I mentioned repeating time loops before. Basically, every time there's a big murderous culmination of a plotline, the timeline of the story snaps backward, and everybody's alive again.
It's a bit neck-breaking transitioning between these arcs. I mean, one episode, we've got the culmination of a series of brutal, gory murders, and the next, we're playing cards and having dress-up games. Yay!
The second arc, the Cotton Drifting arc, is where we first get a sense of the repeating time loops. The show is reset to before the Cotton Drifting Festival, and this time the events of the festival play out a little differently. For example, Keiichi bails out on Rika's ridiculous cotton hoeing shit, and instead is convinced to break into a shrine while everybody's distracted at the festival. Also, this arc introduces Shion, Mion's twin sister, and begins one of the best angles the series has to offer, the identity crisis between Mion and Shion. Okay, spoilers incoming, but this arc delves into who really is who during all this shit. Did Keiichi break in that shrine with Mion or Shion? Is this actually Mion? Or is it Shion? Or hell, how about back in the first arc? Who was that? Was that Mion? This really is a double-edged sword. When Higurashi wants you to be questioning the identity of these two girls, you do, and it makes for some great watching. But at the same time, you can never trust anything the show tells you now about these two girls because of this development. Okay, I've seen the entire show and I know that the girl in the first arc was actually unequivocally Mion, and you aren't meant to even wonder if that could possibly be Shion. But now that such a level of doubt has been introduced to this series, can you blame me if I do? I spent the rest of the show wondering if Mion was actually Mion and vice versa, even in scenes where it had no relevance at all, and it really quickly became annoying. It was a great short-term gambit and brought a lot of awesome drama for this arc, but in the long term it broke the #1 rule of storytelling and really poisoned the show in the process. Suspension of disbelief has to be maintained.
Whoa. What? You deliver pizzas?
Yeah, I got this job last week. When I saw it was our address, I figured I'd get it myself.
What kind of nerd actually gets a job?
And at that moment, I slipped and fell headfirst into my own delicious meal, landing in just the right way to snap the chicken bone that is my neck. My last memory was having a mouthful of amazing pizza. Nom 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 nom.
Hey, yeah, I'd like to make an order, please. Yeah, make it, small superior and some breadsticks. Boy, it sure took me a while to get to Higurashi, eh? Trent Sims, this one's for you. Fuck.
The third arc opens with Keiichi looking as Marty McFly as ever. This time around, the action focuses on Sadako and it introduces this series' longest mystery, the disappearance of Satoshi, Sadako's older brother. As hinted at during the other arcs, everybody believes Satoshi was spirited away by the annual curse, specifically because his family were large political supporters of the Hinamizawa Dam project that would have flooded the town, forcing everybody to relocate. As you'll find out later, the entire story literally hinges on Satoshi's disappearance. The actions of all the characters in every arc are motivated, directly or indirectly, by the circumstances surrounding his disappearance. Here's another big problem I have with this series. It, like so many other animes out there, assumes you've experienced the supplementary material. In most cases that would mean having read the manga like in NHK or Elfen Lied, but this time it means having played the game. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If I raise a question or plot hole about a show and the only answer you've got for it is read the manga, that does not constitute a legitimate answer. Let's look at The Matrix, for example. Without judging the quality of the series, it did supplementary materials correctly. There are facts about the second and third movie that are only truly answered if you follow the storylines of the Animatrix and the Matrix video game. This makes sense. The game and animation were unique stories in their own right that followed their own plot, had their own place in the overarching mythos. To contrast, the anime and manga of Chobits or NHK or Elfen Lied cover the exact same ground, hit the exact same story parts, only that the anime leaves out critical details due to time and budget. And here's how this applies in Higurashi. Spoilers yet again, but in the third arc, Keiichi decides to kill Sadako's uncle to put a stop to his abusive ways. There's some tomfoolery with him forgetting a shovel and having to go back and Takano showing up and everything else, but he eventually manages to dig a hole, throw the body in it, and bury it. The next day, Sadako is all, "My uncle's fine, yo," and all his friends, they claim that they saw Keiichi at the festival, and Keiichi begins to wonder if he actually killed anybody at all. The next night, he goes back to the site to dig up the body to make sure it's still there. The police show up as well, and Keiichi is well and truly fucked at this point.
Screw you, pig!
Yeah. Screw you, pig. Fuck the police. For reals. West Side shit. Bitch. Show me your genitals.
It turns out the body isn't even there. And yet the uncle is nowhere to be found. He's not in the house. Keiichi finds this out by tearing the place apart. He's not around town, so where the fuck did he go? Is he alive or dead? This is a mystery that is never solved.
Now you knew this sort of thing was gonna happen. Whether for time or budget or whatever, some important plot detail was cut out of inclusion in the anime, even though it already existed in the game. Now when something like this happens, you either take out what's needed and rewrite your plot around this hole, or you meshly rip it out and expect your viewers to find out about it online. And guess which one they did.
It turns out that when Keiichi was discussing his not attending the festival with Mio on the phone, he used the exact same wording Sadashi used 2 years prior, when Sadashi murdered his aunt, who was also abusing Sadako. Mio put 2 and 2 together and figured out Keiichi was planning to murder Sadako's uncle. She had the Sonozaki Yakuza dig the body up and move it to another location, and she convinced their circle of friends to cover for Keiichi with a consistent alibi for him. And none of this is ever explained in the show. In the show, the body just vanishes and nobody knows what's going on. Good one!
Whoa. What? You deliver pizzas?
Yeah, I got this job last week. When I saw it was our address, I figured I'd get it myself. And this is not tipping last time, you jerk.
What you say? Oh, that you only meant well, cause you did. What you say? That it's all for the best, cause it is. What you say? That it's just what we need. You decided this. What you say? What did she say? Let's keep falling into love. It's sweet, music.
And at that moment, I looked over to see my roommate eating my breakfast. I always knew he wanted to take over the short Fat Otaku show. Well, he certainly fits the part better than I do, that flabby tub of shit.
it sure took me a while to...
Arc number 4 is called the Time Killing Chapter. Oh boy, I wonder if it's full of goofy slice of life shit. Well, no, it turns out it isn't, but it still is pretty pointless. The focus here is on Rika several years before the action of the main series, showing an event happening during the dam construction. A member of the Diet's grandson was kidnapped by the Sonozaki Yakuza, and they were holding him hostage in an attempt to halt construction. Oishi and a rookie cop named Akasaka are sent in to secure the boy's return, and they end up getting in a shootout with the Yakuza in the woods. Only they just decide to threaten them with a mean tone in their voice instead.
Shoot him! Shoot him! You were police! Use your fucking guns! They kidnapped a minister's son! You were authorized to use deadly force! Did you not even bring your weapons with you?
Rika gives Akasaka a prediction that his wife is going to die if he doesn't go home. And she does. This is the first hint of what we learned by the end of the series, that Rika is actually able to preserve some of her memories between each time loop. Akasaka becomes important later, but for now, this really does seem like killing time.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Oh, not much. Just going outside to do that cotton hose scene.
You need any help?
Nah, probably not.
And at that moment, a horrendous moving car effect ran me down the street. All I wanted to do was get away from that dog. I didn't expect terrible special effects to be my undoing. I wish Camera Lady had read the instructions that came with the software.
Oh boy, it sure took me a while to get to Higurashi, didn't it? Trent Sims, fuck you! Alright, we're going for a little ride!
The fuck?
Get up, Tubby.
Hey man, I was keeping that so I can catch one of them Ninja Turtles.
Call me crazy, but I think I'm starting to understand these characters a little bit.
Hey, watch the curb.
Here is where the answer arcs begin. The first 4 arcs are called question arcs. They set up mysteries and leave more things hanging than solved, and there are 4 answer arcs afterwards, each answer arc corresponding to a question arc. At least that's how it is in the game. In the anime, there are only 2 answer arcs, with the other 2 answer arcs being spread out over the 24 episodes of Season 2. Jesus Christ! Arc 5, the eye-opening arc, retells the story of Arc 2 from Shion's point of view, and is, in my opinion, the most interesting arc of the series. We get to watch Shion fall in love with Satoshi and have to undergo ritual punishment for her feelings because of the stigma Satoshi's family has within Hinamizawa due to his parents' support of the dam project. We watch the mystery of Satoshi's disappearance unfold firsthand and what it does to Shion, and we get to watch Shion get her sweet, sweet revenge on the entire Yakuza family for everything they've done to her. You know, I sort of side with Shion here up to a point. Think about it. They tortured her, destroyed her relationship with both her boyfriend and her family, killed her boyfriend, are the primary suspects in a whole string of murders and disappearances, manipulate religious faith to control the masses, and strong-arm the non-believers into falling in line. So when you show me Shion killing the elders of the Yakuza clans in rather painful ways, yeah, I side with her, up to a point. And that point is here.
I mean it! If you want to stab me, go ahead, stab me! But no matter how much you hurt me, no matter how much you try to make me cry, I won't do it! Nini, I hope you're watching. I hope you can see how much stronger I am now. And no matter what happens, I'm not gonna give up. Not to her. Someone as pathetic as she is could never make me cry.
It turns out that throughout all of Arc 2's fuckery with Mion, and Mion being possessed by a demon and Shion being held captive in a cave, it was actually Shion doing everything. Shion was posing as Mion at school, Mion was dressed as Shion in the cave. And at the end of it all, both sisters were accounted for. Shion killed Mion by dumping her in a well, and Shion posed as Mion to escape in an ambulance, snuck out to stab Keiichi, and on her way back in, fell off the side of the building. Really? After all of your master manipulation and acting, you die because your parkour skills fucked up a bit? What a fucking way to go! This still doesn't answer who the fuck this is at the end of Arc 2, but that's a mystery for Season 2 to tackle. But wait, remember in Arc 2, Keiichi thinks that the girl in the cage is Shion and the girl in the kimono is Mion. It turns out to be the opposite, but Keiichi also had suspicions earlier that the girl in the cage was actually Mion and that Mion was a demon. And then Shion takes on Mion's outfit, which is actually Shion's anyway in order to escape. So here, in this scene where she is escaping via the ambulance, if you untangle everything, she is Shion pretending to be Mion, who is pretending to be Shion pretending to be Mion. Holy fuck!
Here we go. Any last words? Bill Murray, help me out here, man.
It's showtime, Phil.
And at that moment, as the wind was blowing through my hair,
What the fuck?
the Atonement chapter is the final chapter of the series, and serves as an answer arc for the very first arc of the series, if you count a 2-second flash of knowledge Keiichi receives during a pivotal moment and answer. Rina, the poster child of this series, is finally given a spotlight here as we get to learn about her home life, why she lives in a wrecked van in the dump, and why she always seems to be going insane. Rina holds her own investigation into all the weird Hinamizawa shit, and having heard the explanation of Oyashiro's curse about 15 times now, I honestly just want to skip ahead to some fun, cool stuff.
The lighthearted sections are fun and all, but the show just seems like it's spinning its wheels until someone gets a chance to come up and say, "Hey kid, you want to hear about Oyashiro's curse?"
They just spend so much time rehashing the backstory because after every time loop, everybody's lost their memories and has to get caught up on the history of the town yet again. Anyway, the new revelation here is that this pothead has been investigating Hinamizawa on her own and has come to a lot of interesting conclusions. Aliens? Demons? I really hope this shit doesn't end up being the big reveal of the fucking show. In the game, this arc wasn't any sort of an ending point, but in the anime, it's the final arc of the first season, so it's given a climactic fight sequence where Keiichi duels Rina on the roof of the school, Keiichi having realized the time loop somehow and Rina at the height of her unexplained psychosis.
And here's where the show really starts to show its budget.
From you.
Ugh.
After the fight, Rika notices how Keiichi was able to talk Rina down from her fit of inexplicable rage and paranoia through, yes, the power of friendship. And the series ends with Rika having hope for the future. Overall, the first season of When They Cry is actually pretty good. Sure, I nitpick a few things here and there, but it's still an enjoyable setup. But the keyword is that, it's a setup. If the second season can't deliver on the mysteries that have been built up here for 26 episodes, the whole thing is gonna fall on its head. But as a mechanism to build up the mysteries, it works just fine. I do have a few complaints though. First is the overall quality of the voice work. The voice acting done by the English dubbers is hit and miss. Sometimes they really have no fucking idea what they're doing. This was made during that early 2000s weird period of English dubbed anime where anime was becoming wildly popular, but dubbing companies didn't really have the experience yet and were just directly translating the script word for babelfished word. However, on the other hand, the actors do hit their stride and produce some genuinely creepy moments. Secondly, as I said before, is the artwork. The show fluctuates between average but not breathtaking to downright hideous. It's pretty clear that their artistic woes in the latter half of the season are motivated entirely by a dwindling budget. But at the very least, it's not in the art style from the video games. They look like gorillas with those hands. Finally, there's the show's tendency to drag its feet. This will really get terrible in the second season, but for now, a lot of arcs just seem to drag on for too long. If they had tightened it up, they probably could have kept it in one 26-episode show. And hell, for being called answer arcs, these past 2 arcs sure didn't supply us with that many answers. The 4 question arcs were just fine, they gave us a lot of stuff to chew over, but what did the answer arcs give us? A Mion Shion dress-up game that goes about 4 identity swaps deep, a bunch of theories that could be what's going on in Hinamizawa, and spoilers, none of them are correct anyway, and a toddler trying his damnedest to draw the most epic final boss fight ever. Hey. Aww. Yes. Yes! I'm the man now, dog! And at that moment, I felt the water filling my lungs, and quickly realized that you'll have to watch part 2 of When They Cry to get any sort of conclusion.
Ninaとは関係のない話だよ。
嘘だ！嘘だ！嘘だ！嘘だ！嘘だ！嘘だ！嘘だ！